Hello, YouTube land. This is Brenton coming to you from Lexington, Kentucky, the Bluegrass State. I have a story for you today from Indiana, and actually we have another few stories from Indiana, and I think I'm going to try to get all these back to back so that we can get some idea of what's going on in Indiana. And we've had past stories from there too. But before we get started, though, if anyone has a story out there they'd like to share, you can contact me at brentonsawin@gmail.com. If you want to contribute, you can go to PayPal me. A link will be in the description. And I also have a Patreon account that you can go become a partner with the channel. If you want to do that, then the link will also be in the description. But let's go straight to our guest, and we're people call him Bubba, so we're gonna go by Bubba, and we'll let him tell his story. We'll just go ahead and do it right now. Hey, Bubba, how you doing?
Pretty good. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, man. I've really been looking forward to getting up with you and hearing what you have to say, because it sounds fascinating. So I'll just let you start with your story, and I'm gonna shut up yapping, because I yap too much sometimes, and then people get upset about it. But anyway, I'm giving you the floor, man. Tell us your story.
Well, it's definitely a wild one. My family and I, my wife, my kids, we've been hunting this property in northern Indiana for over 25 years now. And back in 2011 is when it started on this property. This property is probably only about 300 acres, roughly. But ended up, sorry, my grandchildren are coming in here, but ended up, we had some cat sightings out there, some cougar sightings. And we thought what we were dealing with was the cougar. We've seen the cougar numerous times, and we found their tracks. We got them on game trail, the whole 9 yards. Ended up, as time went on through that year, we started getting whistled at quite a bit in between stands, between me and my son, in this area we called the Narrows. And the Narrows there might be about 100, 150 yards between stands. And I know that sometimes a female cougar will whistle, make a whistling sound toward her cubs, but this was totally different, because not only did we get that, we also got what sound to be knocks on trees being hit or something of that nature, extremely loud. And I get down out of the stand later on that evening. So is my son. We're talking about it. The next day we go out hunting again. Same thing. So we're sitting up in there, and the whistle starts again, the knocking. And then a smell rolls in. And buddy, I couldn't even, I can't describe this sound whatsoever, or the smell, excuse me. But the smell, it's almost like a skunk and roadkill. And it came in so rough and so harsh that it almost take your breath away. Well, as this went on, later at night, some deer came in. It's during bow season. And I'm watching a spiked buck out in front of me. And during this, I hear something coming up behind me in a pasture on the other side. And it's heavy, loud. There's a fence behind me. And as I'm sitting here watching this buck, it's dark behind me. I can't see anything. This growl came out. And it was a deep, like, lowered growl. And that buck took off so fast and hit the corn, it was gone. But there's about 200 acres worth of corn out in front of us. So anyhow, that day went by. My son heard the same thing. Then it got to the point where we didn't know exactly what we were dealing with. So another guy and I went out the following day, And we got this area that it's like a CRP field. I don't know if you're familiar, CRP fields. But we're hunting over a swamp. And the whole time in front of me is another woods. And I'm hearing just this constant knock, 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 knock. And I mean, this went on for, 2.5 hours, nonstop. And one of the other guys that was in the back, it started to get dark, and I'm hearing something come up behind me in the swamp. And as soon, I had a decoy out in front of me. It was a Montana 3D decoy of a doe. And I usually use it to hunt, to bring in bucks. And he comes up with a red light on, not wanting to spook the game. A buddy does from the back. We're sitting there talking. I'm still up my stand. And when I go to, he's down there folding up the doe, getting her put up, the decoy. When I go to get down, I don't know if you're familiar with some of the deer stands. They got the ladder, and they'll connect and they'll clink when you come down.
Yeah.
Well, this ladder clinked, and as soon as it clinked, the loudest, it went, whoo, right behind my stand. And then after that, in the woods where that knocking kept going on for 2.5, 3 hours, was the craziest stuff you ever heard, man. I mean, it just came out it was like an ape. It was like a chimp going off. It was just, and going crazy in this woods, shaking the trees, the whole 9 yards. The buddy and I looking at each other like, what the hell is that, man? What do we do? Let's walk out of here. Let's get out of here as fast as we can. All we got is bows on us. So we got up out of there. The following week, we came back out hunting again and shot a doe, good blood trail, watched her lay down, watched her die. I was in the Narrows with my wife then, and she even saw the deer run by her. The arrow sucked her. Watched her lay down. She had 2 yearlings with her, and once she laid down and died, I texted the wife and said she's down. Turned back around, and the deer's gone. Now I know it doesn't sound like much, but this deer bled out so much that it was probably a 3.5 foot puddle where this deer laid. There was no more blood trail, no more nothing. The 2 yearlings were standing there, even as I walked up, freaking out, and took off. Couldn't find anything but one drop going into the corn. Followed it, nothing. We've had incidents where we've had 4 or 5 deer taken from us. We've had huge rocks thrown at us from the swamp recently and last couple of years. My wife and I was putting out a camera up there, and we got growled at. And this growling's been going on for 3 years. You'd walk by the wood line, and you just hear this big growl. And I got to the point where I'd tell them, "You're all right. You're okay. I'm going to hurt you. You're fine." And it was just like it would freak out and just shut up. So to make a long story even shorter, my wife and I was putting this camera out, and all of a sudden this huge rock comes flying out of the swamp, at least 30 yards through the air. The rock weighed somewhere around 20, 25 pounds, landed right between me and my wife. We've had that. We've had to the point where we've had a visual. I had a visual with my son another day, another year out there hunting, where in the swamp, I get up in my stand. As soon as I get up my stand, I see it was unbelievable, man. It was just like it was red, huge. It was a squatch. I mean, it was huge, cone-shaped head, red, digging in the swamp. As soon as I got up to the top, it didn't even look over at me. And it just all of a sudden turned to its right and took off. And when it took off on all fours. We got a 400-foot hill in the back of the swamp, and it went up that hill, I'm going to say, in a matter of 5, 6, 7 seconds. Up in that hill into the pines. My son called me immediately. He was coming around the backside.
Do you think it took off? Do you think it took off into the like that because it realized you were there?
Oh, it knew we were there. There's no doubt. I mean, once he heard me get up on the stand, they know where the stands are. This has been going on for 6 years out there.
For him to be digging and kind of minding its own business, carrying on and what have you, and then all of a sudden take off running. It seems like he didn't know you were there, and then all of a sudden he realized you were there and bailed.
He knew we was there as soon as I got to the top of the stand. He heard me get up in the stand, and as soon as he heard, he didn't even have to look over at me. I mean, I'm only probably 60 yards away, and he just bolted. I mean, I'm telling you this thing, that the only way I can tell you, this is definitely the male, the alpha male, there's no doubt. I've ran into him before, and I'll explain that here in a minute, but he's at least, I'm going to say 5, 6 feet across his shoulders, across his back. Just massive. I mean, if I had to put a size on him, he's every bit of 9 foot. And weight, well, I'm a big guy. I'm a power lifter, man, and I weigh 375 pounds. He's twice the size of me. Every bit of it. And he went up that hill like it wasn't nothing. My son called me immediately. He was heading around the back side of the swamp. Called and I answered, and he said, "What the hell was that?" I said, "You saw that?" And he said, "Yeah, I saw that. What the hell was that?" I said, "It is what it is. I mean, it is what it is." He said, "I can't believe that thing." He said, "That thing come flying up through there." And he said, "It's monstrous. It was huge." I said, "Yeah, it was in the swamp digging. I don't know what it was after, but it was down there digging." And then shortly after that, in the same year, one of our friend of my kids, which is like one of our own kids, he was up in one of the stands overlooking a cornfield, and he's 15 feet up in a deer stand, and he gets pelted with corn. I know that sounds crazy, but it drills him all in the chest and all over his body, and what it is, it's field corn. And if you're familiar with field corn, you know how hard that is to get off a cob. It basically just is like something just like tore it completely off, shredded it like you take a knife to it and take the corn off a cob and just slung it at him. And it came at least 25 to 30 yards out of the corn and just pelted him 15 feet up. My wife, we have pictures. My wife got a picture of, I can't tell if it was a male or female, but I know this. It was looking at her through a crotch of a tree that was about 70 yards away. I measured the tree to the crotch to the base of the tree, and it's every bit of 7 feet 6 inches, and its head was above that. And so we got those pictures. We've had an incident where my son was with us and went to the back of the swamp, and I'm in the narrows up front, and the other guy is in the back, and the corn's all up. And during that time, I'm sitting there with the bow, and I hear something coming in from behind me, and I turn around. It's a small buck, 4-point buck. He walks in. I'm watching him. He's grazing out in front of me, eating. This went on for about 15 minutes, and during that time, probably, I'd say 15 yards from me in the corn, I start hearing what sounds like 2 rocks smacking together. Now, granted, we're a mile or better away from anybody. And all you hear is this clack, 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 clack. And the deer's looking at it. The buck's watching it. And as soon as the buck comes out and goes to leave, he heads out to my right, out toward the corn, goes about 2 rows in the corn, starts heading toward about a mile stretch to the road. And as he's walking through, something lunges at him. And when it lunges, this buck jumps probably, I'm going to say, man, it looked like it was about 10 feet in the air, man. It was unbelievable. And just took off. And as it ran past the wood line, at the far wood line from me, you heard, whoo, just like that. And so I get out, I get down, and at this time, I'll be honest with you, I'm pissed. I mean, I'm livid pissed because, like I said, we've had 3 or 4 deer taken from us after we downed them. And I get out anyhow. I'm cussing this thing, man, to be honest with you. I'm talking about killing it. And that's how pissed I am. I get down, I get out. It's in the corn. And it doesn't do anything. It's just in the corn. And then all of a sudden, I had to relieve myself. I've been up there for 3 hours, so I go to take a leak. I'm urinating there, and this thing starts going, raw, 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 and it's coming toward me. And the only way I can tell you exactly what this was like is it looked like somebody had a 4-wheeler in the corn driving it toward you with no motor. That's how much corn it was moving. So I pulled my bow up on it, and it stopped. And I started in again. You're okay? Hey, we're just hunting, same as you are. I mean, I'm going to tell you, these things are not. They're not. I don't want to say they're not animal, but they're not. They're more human than they are animal, by far. They are so intelligent. They understand what you're saying. I know this sounds crazy, but they understand English.
No, I agree. I agree with that because I have a friend who's a researcher in Tennessee, and he went out doing his research one day, and he was going to try to test him, and he started saying derogatory. Scott Carpenter, and he started saying derogatory things. Even he cussed at him and everything. It's like, oh, you ain't nothing. And said all kinds of crazy stuff. And they zapped him, and he had urine in his blood in his urine, and the friend that was with him ended up having blood in his urine and everything. Like they zapped him with some kind of electricity or something. But the point was that they understood what he was saying. And so there's no doubt. That's a whole different ball game. And So anyway, go ahead with your story, man. I'll ask questions at the end.
Okay, I was still after that, man. I mean, I'm a big dude, man, and I ain't scared of too much of nothing. I'll be honest with you. And I'm telling you what, if I hadn't already I would have pissed my pants if I hadn't already done it. This thing was deep, aggressive. It made, you had to stop and you had to think about what you were doing. And during that time, luckily, the other guy from the back came up to me. He's the one that had the corn thrown at him. And he asked me, he said, what we doing? I said, well, man, I said, we got a big one right here in the corn. Cause I mean, we've had our sightings. We've had rocks thrown at us. We've had trees. We've had what sounded like a woman screaming through the woods, the whole 9 yards, many, many different times. This has been going on now for 6 years out of the 26 years or 5 years I've been hunting here. I said, he's right here. I made the comment to it. I said, if you're still there, make that clacking sound. And it did it. And then it started shaking corn stalks. And my buddy's like, man, you better leave that thing alone, man. Just don't mess with it. He said, I don't doubt, I know it's there, and he's getting scared, and just leave it alone. I said, well, I named my boy by his name. I said, have you heard from him? He's like, no. And my son's 20, he's 26 now. At that time, he was 21 or so. And he called the guy I was with and said, put Dad on the phone now. And this is right during the time we're going through this in the corn. And I said, what's going on? He said, I hate to tell you exactly how he said it, but he said, get your ass back here now. And I said, what's going on? He said, dude, he said, get back here. He said, I'm sitting up in a damn tree, and 25 yards out from me up a tree, there's a damn chimpanzee looking at me, is what he described as a chimp. I said, do what? He said, no, I'm dead serious. Get over here. He said, there's a damn chimp looking at me in the woods across from me. Standing there, it's in the tree looking at me. It looks like a chimp. So I told him, I said, well, we got a little issue here of our own, but we're going to make our way to you. I'll meet you at the funnel. There's a funnel area that comes out of the back fields to the swamp, to the wood line. All right, so we're moving, and we're really not wanting to turn our back on what's in the corn with us. You know, we're kind of just moving along, kind of looking over our shoulder, walking backwards, whatever it took to make it toward him. Then he calls again, freaking out. And, buddy, I'm going to tell you what, I ain't never heard my son drop so many F-bombs in his life, but he did. And he told me, he said, where the hell are you? And he's just freaking out. I said, we're on our way, man. We're on our way. He's like, I got down, Dad. And he said, this damn thing got down after me, out of the tree. I said, do what? He said, yeah, it got down. I said, what's it doing? He said, it's following me. It's walking through the field, right behind me, 50 yards. I said, what's it look like? He said, it ain't no bigger than 3 foot tall. He said, but Dad, it's as wide as you. It's as big as you. Now, granted, I'm 375. He said, it's as wide as you and 3 foot. And it'd get down and walk on all fours and stand up and walk upright. He said, I pulled my bow on it. I said, what'd it do? He said, it looked like a damn dog and turned its head left to right, like you're not going to shoot me. But the entire time there's something crashing through the woods to the side of me, walking with me. And I told him, I said, you know, it's probably a damn good thing. Once we got to him, he was so white and tears in his eyes, and told me he's never going back here again without a handgun, you know, or some kind of gun, something. He will never go back there and hunt again without it. But I told him, I said, it's a good thing that you didn't pull on that youngin', because that was probably Mama in that woods walking next to you, because once he turned through the funnel, it followed him all the way to the funnel. When he made his left turn out of that funnel, it disappeared. And like something reached out of the woods and snatched it. But this is the stuff that's going on out there. And we've had an incident, the last one we had shot a buck. The boy the guy that was hunting the backwoods that got the corn head thrown on him. I didn't go one day hunting. He went up there and called me up and said, you know, he just shot a buck during bow season. I said, okay. And I said, have you know where it went? He said, yeah. I said, well, okay, don't get down. Don't push it or nothing. None of that nature whatsoever. I said, just get down, head to the truck. We're on our way up, which is about 45 minutes away, and we'll meet you up there. So we're on our way up, and he calls me again and says, I just shot a doe. I'm like, okay, you know, where's the doe? She's laying out here in the field. She died. All right. I said, go ahead and bring your truck up, gut her out, throw her in the bed, and wait. Do not push that buck, because it went toward the swamp and the pines and this hill. He's like, all right, I'll wait for you. So as soon as we pull up back there, we get back to the swamp area, and he didn't even have to tell me where it's at. I mean, it looks like somebody dumped buckets of paint all through, you know, it looked like buckets of red paint all through the horse grass and everything leading back. So he hit it good. I asked him, I said, did you find your arrow? He's like, no. I said, well, keep your eye out. We're walking. We're tracking. It's me, my other son, this guy, and my wife. And we're tracking. She hunts too. So we're tracking. I'm tracking, leading the way. Blood everywhere. We cross a creek. Still good blood trail everywhere. We come up on the grass where it like laid down. And I'm telling you, man, this whole circle of grass was covered in blood, probably at least 4 or 5 foot diameter of just blood, just where it laid down and died. But no deer. And all I'm finding now is just specks of blood leading upward into those pines up that hill. By this time, it's about 9 o'clock at night, 9:30. It's dark, and we're tracking up through this hill and through these pines. And I'm finding a little bit of blood here and there, but now it's spreading out every 20, 25 feet, 30 feet. We get up through there, and this pine area on this hill is so dense that like every foot and a half, these trees are just right there. And inside this pine area, we're seeing trees that are completely ripped in half. Like if you tore something and twisted it in half. It's still wet, no saw marks, none of that. But the trees around it are perfectly fine next to it. So it's not snow, it's not wind. So, that was kind of strange. So we keep making our way up. And during this time we're making our way up, we keep hearing all this whooping. And that's exactly what it sounded like. I mean, it was just constant, whoop, whoop, all around the swamp. We're making our way up in there. We come across one of the final spots that we see the blood. And there is a pine tree that was ripped out of the ground and shoved upside down with its roots standing straight up. Now, I don't know about you, but I've never seen that in my life. I'm an avid hunter. I'm outdoors all the time. I trap. Never seen anything like that in my life. And what was crazy about it,
well, that's a territory. That's a territory mark. And to me, that's a very scary kind of mark. I mean, nobody really knows, I don't guess, but they find those in Alaska, and
yeah. Well, this was in northern Indiana.
To pull a tree up by the roots, man, and poke it in the ground. Yeah. Oh my gosh, you gotta be kidding me! That's scary, dude.
We're talking. This was at least it was wild because there's no limbs on it. This tree. And we're in a pined area, and I would say this tree was probably either an oak or a hickory. So it got carried there and was shoved in the ground, and it's probably, 50 feet up, a 50-foot tree shoved in the ground at least. And, I mean, it's big. It was over a foot in diameter. So whatever did this or whatever, it had to be massive. But as we went past this tree, and the guy I was with was the biggest buck he's ever shot, man. He's feeling sick about it. We know where we're at. We've had run-ins. We've been growled at. We've had rocks thrown. I've had the sighting of it run up the hill in the same damn area that we're in. We push on a little more. We got flashlights. I'm carrying my handgun. I've got 1911 on me. My son's got his. And it wouldn't do any good. But anyhow, we had it. We're cruising up in there, and we hear this growl. And this growl, I'm telling you, man, it's not like a damn grizzly bear. If you can imagine, even if a grizzly bear could growl, it was that big, that vocal, that deep, that, just where it come from the gut. And we all look at each other. And I'm looking around, and the one guy that shot the deer's got the flashlight, one of the flashlights. And I see this eye shine, probably 60, 70 yards up the hill. And it was just a flash of red. It was like a quick flash of just red eye shine, man. It was just quick, just pop, and it was done. But it was up there. So I told him, give me the light. I shined over there, nothing. We keep looking a little more, and then that growl hits again. And this time I look at the guy and I tell him, hey, buddy, your deer's gone. And he's freaked out already. I mean, he's been through 2 growls with us. And he's like, all right, yeah. I said, I got a good idea where your deer's at, but I don't think we're going up in there. So we turn around to come back to head toward his truck. It's parked out in front of his stand out in the field. And as we're making our way, as soon as we cross the stream there back toward his stand, him and my son are already made their way to the truck. My wife and I are coming up from behind. And there's a 12-foot briar bush behind his stand. And as soon as I stepped up to that stand, that bush, it let out it sounded like it was like roar, like that. If I can, I know it sounds crazy, but it was unbelievably loud. It was the kind that would make you just, you could feel to make it long, you could feel your ass in your throat. If that's the only way I could tell you, man. You were just freaking. And my son pulls his handgun and says, "Shoot it, Dad. It's behind the damn bush. I can see it. Shoot it now." I looked at him with my wife next to me, and I told him, "Put your gun down and walk to the truck." He's like, "Shoot." I said, "Put your damn gun down and walk to the truck, both of you." They walk to the truck, and the time I get there, they're like, "He was right there. You could have shot." I said, "Man, I'm going to tell you one thing. If that thing wanted us, it had done took us." That's all I can tell you. That what we had would not have phased this thing by no means whatsoever. Now that the last year or so, it's been really kind of crazy there because they're getting more used to us to the point where they come in real close, man. I mean, you may not see them, but you hear them. They'll whistle at you. They'll whoop at you. You know, you'll get a growl occasionally in the morning time walking back. My wife got up in the stand opening day of gun in my back stand where my son had the encounter with the juvenile. And there's a bedding area behind the stand, and it's not like a deer bedding area. I mean, we're talking like, this thing's like 10-foot circles of just matted down, everything smashed down back there in the swamp. And when she got up in the stand, she heard the one go, "Raw." And then it got up and took off. It was in the dark. It took off, breaking limbs. And my son had the same thing on an opposite day on the other side. It did the same thing to him again, just raw, and get up in the stand. We have had situations where, my wife shot one last year with bow, and we lost it in another woods, tracking just like the other one. We get down in there, and it's black, dark out. It was just me and her. All we had was our cell phone as a light, for the light from the cell phone. We forgot our flashlights in the truck. And we get down in this other wood line, and the blood quits. Where I'm looking everywhere, I'm all over. There was good blood, found a pass through the arrow, the whole 9 yards. And all of a sudden, man, this thing just lets out a massive whoop in the dark. It was just like, whoop! And her and I looked at each other like, there's your deer. And shortly after that, within, I'm going to say 30 seconds, a pack of coyotes started going crazy from where the whoop came from. And we just walked on out. That's been the biggest problem. We don't feed these things. We don't, the only thing we have left is, we tried leaving the heart and the lungs and the soft tissue of the deers that we killed. And I don't know if they're familiar. If you leave a gut pile on a deer, you can come back the next day and that gut pile will still be there, at least portions of it, mainly the intestines and the gut. There's not too many things that'll eat that. Birds will pick through it. They will not be gone in a day. For the past 5 or 6 years, every deer we've killed on an average of about 5 or 6 a year, the following day, all the entire gut pile and everything's gone, wherever we leave it. So, I mean, it's been really crazy. And the land that we hunt, next to it is a Amish area. And the Amish guy, they have a phone that's in the community of Amish that they use. It's like a little phone booth. And he called me up after the season, and he was like, "Bubba, you need to come up here." And I'm like, "Why? What's going on?" he said, well, got a bunch of coyotes or something around my house. And he said, we need to start killing these coyotes. I said, what makes you think that? He said, because they're outside of my house whooping. And that's the word he used, was whoop. Well, Amish have no TV, no access to, you know, Bigfoot or anything of that nature, or have any clue of what the hell they're, you know, what the hell it is. And I told him, I said, well, look, man, coyotes don't whoop, they yip. So he's like, well, what is it? And I just told him I didn't know. I mean, since then I've talked to him more. I showed him the pictures. He will not go back in that swamp area by no means. But I do know this.
Did you say you were a sheriff?
No, I'm not a sheriff. No.
Oh,
no. I'm just a hunter, man. Just a hunter, a trapper.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, I've now here's the craziest thing. There's another place up in northern Indiana we go to target shoot. And now here in Indiana, they have a law that there has to be a DNR officer there at the shooting range when you sight in your guns. Well, last year, man, I took my camera over to him, my phone, with all the pictures I have on it. And I started showing him these pictures that I've got of this family unit. And he didn't blink an eye. And I said, you know what that is? He said, yeah, I know what it is. He said, kill it. I said, there ain't no way in hell, man. He said, no, you need to shoot it and kill it. I said, you'll never make it out of that woods alive. You'll never make it out of there alive. Just like I told my boys and all of them. Unless they come after you, unless it's not a mock charge and it's straight up really life on the line, then you do whatever you got to do to kill it. But until then, don't shoot at it. Don't raise a gun. Don't do none of that. You know, because if there's one, there's two. There's always one. They're never by themselves. Very rarely, that we've noticed in the past 6 years or so, they've never been, you know, you'll hear a whoop or a knock right behind the one you're just dealing with out in front of you, or, you know, not visually, but the growling, you'll hear a growl, and then behind you, you'll hear a whoop or a knock. And you know that this thing's not alone, especially when it's hunting season. They're never alone. And it just floored me that the DNR here in Indiana would just their idea is kill it. You know, they know there's not a doubt in my mind. You know, the guy even told me, his buddy, that the DNR officer said, yeah, my buddy tracks him. I said, is he a DNR too? Yeah, he tracks him. So, I mean, they know what's going on up here. But anybody that says and thinks that these things aren't real, buddy, I was a skeptic from hell. I laughed at anybody that ever brought one up, even talked about it. But I'm not a skeptic anymore, man. I'm a diehard believer, and I'm telling you, they're highly intelligent, and they can be very, very, very aggressive, to the point that if you don't, it's wild, because my wife and I talked about it, you get a sense of communication on you. It's kind of weird. It's like when the boys pulled their guns, when they said kill it, Dad's right beside you, start shooting. And I told them just put the gun down and walk to the truck. The same thought process came in my mind as what my wife's did, and we talked about it, and it was like, leave now or you'll have trouble. Does that make sense? You both have the same thought that, you're okay, but leave or you'll have this trouble.
So I was going to kind of ask you a series of questions. And,
okay.
First question I had wrote down is, what do you think they are?
Well, there's no doubt they're Bigfoot, man. They're Sasquatch. There's no doubt.
Right. Yeah.
There is absolutely no doubt.
But they're too smart just to be an ape.
What I honestly think they are,
language and all that kind of stuff, and some of the other questions will kind of tie into this, but they're just too intelligent. They're some type of humanoid. I mean, seemingly, but what do you think?
Well, you want my personal belief?
Yes, sir.
A lot of people might not understand it and really don't care, but my personal belief is they're part of the Nephilim.
Yeah, I agree.
I honestly believe that. I'm gonna tell you, we were made in God's image, man, and there is no way in hell this is any part of God's image.
Amen.
This is a no. I mean, these are basically giants, man, covered in hair. I don't even know how to put it any differently. They're not an ape. They look like an ape, but they're not. I mean, their facial features are more human than ape, and just their body structure. I mean, the way they walk almost like they're gliding on air. And I can't get into the aspect of, well, they can become invisible and all that. But I don't know if I buy into all that crap. But I honestly believe in my heart of hearts, man, that they're part of the fallen angels, man.
Yeah,
I honestly believe that.
It's like this. When you look at the creation, I mean, if you're a Christian, you have to look at what the Bible says, and then you look at the creation story. God created man in His own image, and then there was animals and stuff like that, and there's nowhere that these things fall into that would be humanoid type that have an image of God in them, unless it was put there by something else, like the Nephilim, or the sons of God coming down and mixing with the daughters of men. So I agree with you on that, and that's a whole deep subject there. So when I ask you what they are, it's like
yeah.
Now, how do you think that they hide? Because my theory is that they have to hide because I think because when the sons of God came to the daughters of men, they came to the daughters of Cain. And I believe that the Bigfoot were something that happened after Cain was ostracized because he was marked with something that caused fear to come upon people. Because he was like, this is too much to bear. That's what Cain said. And he's like, what will I do when I run across people? He was commanded to be away from human beings. So that, to me, makes sense with this whole Bigfoot thing. And he was marked with some type of mark that would make him seem like a beast when people ran across him. And if you look in the book of Jasher, Tubal-Cain and his grandson came across what they thought was a beast, and they shot him with a bow and arrow from afar off, and they killed it. And they went up there and looked, and it was Cain.
Mm-hmm.
Why would they have thought he was a beast, other than if it was hairy? I mean, a beast is hairy, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Exactly. So I mean, that just kind of a little bit of an indicator. And it's like, why do they hide? How do they hide? And for what reasons do they hide? All that kind of stuff. So my question is, how do they hide? And why? Because they do it too well in this country, in the United States.
Oh, there's no doubt. They are masters of camouflage. I mean, I've been wondering that forever. I mean, it seems like, trust me, once you see these things and you're amongst them, your mind cannot comprehend what you see. No. I mean, I know this. The only thing I can say to you, buddy, is I know that, like in the days of Noah, what was in the beginning will be in the end. And that's the only thing I can get running through my mind. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and there's supposed to be a time in which, and I made a video on this a long time ago, and no one said nothing about it. And then later on, there started being some other people talking about it, and they started saying, okay, well, these things are going to come back, because I was looking at something in Revelation where it talks about the Abaddon that comes out of the pit. He's going to be given command over the beast of the earth. and he's gonna be like the general over the beast of the earth, and he's gonna be allowed to kill a fifth part of mankind. And the Lord said that in those days that people's hearts will fail them for fear for what's coming. And so, could you imagine a Bigfoot army and
I've already thought of that.
yeah, I mean a Dogman army and stuff like that coming.
Yeah.
A Bigfoot and a Dogman and stuff like that could come through a town and wipe a whole town out, and there ain't nothing you can do much because they're so fast. You could shoot and kill some of them because they do have bodies. So a lot of these Bigfoot researchers that make fun of people that say this kind of thing. Oh, these things are flesh and blood. Yes, I believe they are. But an angel has a body also, because if you look at what the scripture says, it says that an angel has a body, but the glory is different. So whatever that means is what it means. But it doesn't mean they don't have a body, because they can eat food with us. We can eat food with them. We eat their food. It's called manna in the wilderness, you know. And they can sit down with us and eat food. They wrestled with Jacob and threw his hip out. So they're physical creatures. And I knew that from a very early age because I had an encounter with a being that you would call supernatural, but it had a physical body. And so you can kill something with the physical body. And so, you know, I don't want to linger on that too long because that gets controversial. But
yep.
And you know, and these things have a lot of primate type kind of attributes in the way that they act. You know, like they break trees and try to make a lot of sounds and stuff like that.
They are definitely what you would consider like a half bloodline of sort, but more human-like than ape. But they do have a lot of ape characteristics. I mean, and everything they do. I mean, the knocking, they'll climb trees, they'll, you know, the things that they do are like an ape.
Right. Yeah. But when I think about, you know, how creation is, that doesn't surprise me. I mean, because any kind of humanoid type creature, if it's more and more wild, it's going to have more ape-like attributes in the way it acts on intimidation and kind of stuff like that, where it snaps trees, and so that doesn't make it ape. That makes it more ape-like, but. You know, I mean, that would be a deep subject to go into, so I don't think we should go into that too far. But okay, taking your deer, they really are taking advantage of what you're out there doing, trying to eat the fruits of your labor. What do you think about that?
Around us when we hunt. No, it pisses me off, but they set up around us when we hunt. But also, you know, people have talked about grizzly bears and stuff doing that when hunters are in their area. They hear a shot and they'll run to it. You know, they'll take that kill if they can get to it. But this unit here, they thrive on us being there. I mean, the last time I was there, the first day of the last year of bow, man, I'm sitting in a stand, all of a sudden something big and black comes flying through the air at me. I'm 16 feet up and it comes flying at my head. Never hits me. They never throw anything and hit none of us, except for Drew got hit with the corn, but he got hit with it. But anyhow, nothing like a rock. They always throw the rock away from you. It's like they don't try to hit you. It's like they try to scare you more than anything, especially with something heavy. But this thing come flying through the air, and I about jumped out of the damn stand, and it landed over, 10, 15 feet past me on the ground there, and I'm looking at it in the weeds, and I turn over and look, can't find nothing, where I'm in this woods, and I just started laughing. I mean, this is how it's gotten now. I just started laughing like it was like something came across me. Hey, I'm here. Nice to see you, And I couldn't help but laugh. I mean, it pisses me off, but it's become, in our situation with my family, it has become, to sum this up, it's become a love-hate relationship. I hate that they're taking our deer. I don't want them there to take our deer. But, man, when you put your eyes on what you're looking at, it's unbelievable. I mean, it's truly unreal. Your mind can't comprehend what you're seeing, but you don't want them to leave for that simple aspect. You don't want anybody to hurt them, by no means, because they haven't hurt my family. Not saying I trust them. You know, we're always on guard, but in 6 years of being out there with them there, and I know we've never had any incidents past, 2011, but they've never done anything to try to hurt my family whatsoever. I'm not going to say they wouldn't. We're always, we don't take our grandchildren out there or nothing of that nature, but we're always armed. But we also don't.
But do you think? Do you think that they don't hurt people so much? I know they do sometimes, but they don't necessarily hurt people so much because they're held back by some rules. It seems that there's some rules because they could go up to doors and turn handles and stuff like that, but they don't come in. And then darn well they could. They could kick a door in a second. They could rip the wall off the house.
Yeah, I've heard of incidents where they have came into people's abandoned homes and this and that if they are abandoned.
I have stories on my channel, dude, where they came into the house. They were living in the basement of a house, and they would come into the house at night. But I think it was because there was some kind of line not drawn. If you're a Christian, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So when it comes to the way that they do a lot of these kind of things, a lot of it's nonverbal communications, and so you have sometimes when you encounter these things, they break tree limbs, or they make grunts, or they growl, or they push a tree over, or throw rocks. That's nonverbal communication. But it's too intelligent to just be an ape, the way that it happens sometimes. And I know that apes do it, but the way that it's configured sometimes, it's not the same, is it?
No. I mean, no. These things are highly intelligent. I believe they're more intelligent than we are. I mean, if you think about it, they survive in situations and haven't been, that we know of, captured, or I'm sure they've been killed, but no one has got one on display that is true. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, I do. They're not. They haven't been caught, and the ones that have been caught, I think, have been covered up, because I think that they're. I don't think that's necessarily man saying that. Well, we're not going to let this happen, but I think God's not going to let it happen.
No, not at this time.
Right.
It's funny you brought up the. About imagining an army of Bigfoot, because, buddy, there's a hell of a lot more than even what Dr. Melvin seems to think, about 3,000 to 5,000. I believe they're in almost every state, maybe not Hawaii, but I believe they're everywhere, man. And if you start being around them enough, you start looking for signs of it. There's always twisted limbs, broken limbs, up high, stuff you can't understand how weather or wind or could have affected these trees, but not the ones next to it. Or we have X's, big X. There's like 3 of them in the major woods that are just huge trees, stripped of bark, stripped of tree limbs, shoved down in the ground, making a huge X in 3 different areas around this woods before you get to the pines. And it's almost like stay out. There's trees intertwined between trees. I mean, there's all kinds of structures. I've even got pictures of what looks to be a teepee. That was, it's a bunch of trees leaned upon each other into a teepee form. It was out on an island in the swamp. And we took pictures of it, and the following day we came out, it was all removed, gone. Not just tore down, gone. So, I mean, I don't know. It's just, you're amazed by being around them because it's unbelievable.
And you got to think about this too. Is that I've had a few people on before that said that they were placing sticks on the ground and making like hieroglyphic symbology, like with the sticks. And
Right.
and there's another person, a friend of mine, has a show that he had someone that came on and talked about an encounter he had and there was little bitty twigs in a spider web, and the sticks were placed in the spider web in a like it was a writing in hieroglyphics,
Right.
symbol, like it was almost like a curse or something written. That's the way he felt. He felt like it was witchcraft or something, and the sticks were placed in there where it was like looking like it was writing going across the
Right.
spider web, and he saw other strange phenomenon that kind of made him think of like, hey, what's going on here? It was like orbs and stuff like that going on, and a few other things he didn't really want to talk about, but. Yeah, there's things that we don't know. We're trying to guess at, but I think there's a supernatural side to some of the activity. But I know these creatures exist in this realm, and they are flesh and blood, and you can shoot them and kill them. So a lot of people think, well, Brenton says that they're supernatural, and like they're demons or something like that. I never said that. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that they are
Right.
physical creatures, but if they have family, if they were Nephilim, then their fathers are supernatural. And why wouldn't they have something to do with what's going on with them? You know what I'm saying? So,
Right.
I mean, it's kind of hard to comprehend if you're not thinking along that line, but.
I've had plenty of time to think about it. Like,
Yeah.
many days of hunting it and 6 years straight of it.
There's no way any creature would stay elusive this long without something else involved besides just being an ape.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because an ape couldn't stay. You could release a bunch of monkeys out into the woods and be in every state.
And you're going to see them.
You're going to see
Yeah,
them.
you're gonna see them.
Prove that they're there. You're going to be able to get them on camera. Right. People will be able to go
Right.
out there in the woods and say, hey, look, I got them on film. But these things hide and they stay hidden. And I talked to a family out in Utah one time, and they had a lot of really good evidence, and it ended up they just wouldn't come forward. But it was amazing because they were talking about these things being descendants of Cain. And
right.
that's what made me start thinking about that, because Cain's descendants, the daughters of Cain and the sons of God, that's what made the Nephilim. But it was only after Cain was ostracized, it said he went out to dwell in the land of Nod again, and he knew his wife. So after he knew his wife, when he went to dwell in the land of Nod, and he already had this mark on him that would cause fear to come upon people. When they ran across him, so that he wouldn't be killed. So from the point to where the Nephilim that looked like humans, it was before he was marked. After he was marked, therefore, whenever the sons of God came to his daughters, that would be something that was marked with some kind of something that would make fear come upon people, and I hope that makes sense to people, because it's not that complicated. There's a before he was marked and after he was marked. But all the Nephilim was made through his daughters. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yes. So there was giants in the Bible. Nephilim were in the scripture, but it was before he was marked and after. After he was marked, and some people was like, well, the flood killed out all the Nephilim. No, it didn't.
No.
There was Nephilim in the land in those days, and also after that, because the Nephilim were killed out it said all flesh on the face of the earth was killed during the flood, but it doesn't mean they were on the face of the earth. They could have went underground.
Exactly.
And, if you look in like an Amish, it talks about those who dug themselves into the earth to escape God's judgment. And if you don't believe that's true, then think about like in New Orleans, there's ants and stuff like that would dig themselves into the earth, and the land would stay flooded for weeks and weeks and weeks, a month, and after the flood was went down, they would come back out of the earth, and because if you know how a drain works,
Right.
you not necessarily get drowned out because of water. You can set things up if you dig into the earth that where the way something drains, you can have areas that don't get flooded, and that's kind of the physics thing. But anyway, man, so you have a family group around your place where you're
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Where we hunt, we have a family unit. And the way we've figured it out, it's roughly 5.
Right.
We know there's a female and an alpha male, and we know there's a juvenile, and we're positive that there's 2 others because we've got a picture of a really not as big as the big red alpha male, but he's black and solid black, and he's pretty good size. I mean, he's probably 7.5, 8 foot, and probably in the realm of somewhere around 600 pounds.
Right.
But he's big. But the red male, man, I'm telling you right now, he's at least 9 feet. I would say somewhere between, honestly, it sounds crazy, but somewhere between 800 to 1,000 pounds.
No, that's
I mean,
crazy.
he's just a massive.
It's incredible,
beast.
Man. To think that something
Yeah,
that big can stay hidden is unbelievable. And usually, in cases like yours, people will also see a gray one or 2 every once in a while because there will be like an alpha male that got pushed out.
Right. Or an older one.
Right, yeah. Because they were the alpha male, and eventually they get pushed out, and then they a lot of times will gang up together, the alpha males will. And depending on where they go, people will see like the gray ones once in a while, and I think most of the time those are the ones that were alpha males that get pushed out, and then they kind of go on their own until they run across another alpha male. And there's been a few times I've heard of cases where there were alpha males that were missing an arm, or limping down the road, and
some kind of deformity or some kind of injured.
Yeah, injury or something like that. But there was one case that this guy wrote to me and told me about one that was he was missing an arm. And it's like, wow, man, that really kind of that's horrible to think that there's a Sasquatch out there trying to make it with one arm. But they can. They're that athletic. They could go grab a deer up and snap its neck.
Oh yeah. I mean, as strong as they are, to be able to take a tree and rip it out of the ground and shove it upside down with 2 arms, they can still do a lot of damage with just one. They're they're an unbelievable.
That ripping the tree out and putting it in the ground upside down. I've heard of that in what would you call it? In Alaska, on an island out there. That's the
I've
really
heard of that.
That's and I've seen that on like Monster Quest or something like that. That was really strange. What do you think that means?
To me personally, I think it's like it's a warning sign of power. Look how strong I am. Look how big I am. Stay out.
Right.
This is what I can do. I mean, it's a sign of aggression. I mean, it's basically what it is. It's showing dominance on this area, and that's what I get from it. I mean, the thing is, like when you're up in where we're at, we're up in there. You know, you just got to listen. That's the main thing. You have to open your ears and you have to listen, because forget about eyesight. You'll be lucky if you see a Squatch. That's because he allowed you to see him, or he screwed up. It's not because you're that damn good. I don't care what anybody says.
Right.
They're not that damn good. So they make a mistake, or they allow you to see them. And, you know, the one we've seen, the only reason why my wife was able to get some pictures because she was snapping off the pictures as fast, and they wouldn't pay any attention to that. But it was the one I had a view of. He knew I was there once I got on top of the stand, but he never heard us come in.
Right.
Because we end up coming in from a backside that we don't normally come in from. We came in from the Amish property.
Right.
And we never come in from that way. So it's kind of caught him off guard. But I'm going to tell you something, to kind of, I hate to wrap things up here, but I've got grandkids to watch here. But,
yeah.
They're getting into everything.
I was fixing to wrap it up anyway. If there's any pictures that you want to send to put in this, you need to do that kind of soon, because I was going to post post your show first. I have like 3 hours of interview, but it's going to take a long time to edit that.
Right.
And so I was going to do your story the next show that goes.
I will get the pictures of my wife's. A lot of them's on my wife's phone, because she's the one that just goes crazy and takes pictures. Anytime that she gets a wood knock or whistles in that area or whoops, she'll take pictures in the woods of that area, and then we can zoom in on them and you'll see them plain as day. I've got ones that on my phone now of one behind a tree, crouched down, staring at me behind the tree, and then changes facial expressions. From within, all this happened within 4 minutes. I took 4 pictures, and on the 4th picture, it's gone.
Yeah. Well, send those to me immediately, as quick as you can, because I would like to get this posted like really soon.
Can I send that to your? Can I send it to your cell phone, or can I send it to
the cell
your email?
Well, to my email would be best.
All right, I'll try to get that taken care of. I'll try to get my wife's at work till morning.
Okay.
But I'll get it to you as soon as I can when she gets home.
All righty. All right. Well, hang on the line for just a second. Everybody out there in YouTube land, I appreciate you listening. This was a fascinating story, so I hope you liked it. And God bless you, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.